I support Donald Trump, and my girlfriend supports Kamala. We broke up over politics on election day. Hey Reddit. This might sound ridiculous to some of you, but I guess it's a sign of the times. I'm 28M, and I've been dating my girlfriend, Sarah, 26F, for almost 3 years. We've been through a lot together, ups and downs, family gatherings, even living together during the pandemic. But in the end, it wasn't money, cheating, or any of the usual issues that tore us apart. It was politics, specifically, our differences in support for Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Here's the whole story of how things unraveled between us. When Sarah and I first started dating, politics was never really a big deal. We were both somewhat laid back about it. Sure, we had different opinions here and there, but nothing that made us clash. If anything, I thought it added a little spice to our relationship. We'd have friendly debates about random issues, but we always respected each other's views, and it rarely went further than a few back-and-forth comments. But things started to change over the past year. With all the debates, policies, and political scandals, tensions were running high everywhere. Every time we watched the news, Sarah would make comments about Kamala Harris and her policies, saying she believed Kamala was the kind of leader we needed. Meanwhile, I've been a big supporter of Donald Trump's approach to business, economics, and his stance on freedom of speech. Whenever I'd share my opinions, I'd notice her rolling her eyes or shaking her head. It was like this invisible line had been drawn, but we kept avoiding talking about it openly. In the weeks leading up to the election, things got even more intense. Sarah was suddenly super active on social media, posting about her support for Kamala, retweeting political commentary, and even volunteering with local groups that supported Kamala's campaign. I'd log onto Instagram and see her stories filled with campaign updates, events, and stats, and she'd often ask me if I wanted to attend a rally or virtual event with her. I never got upset with her for her passion, but I could tell it bothered her that I wasn't showing the same enthusiasm for Kamala. She'd make little remarks, like, if you actually cared about people's rights, you'd get involved too. I shrugged it off at first, not wanting to argue. But every comment like that felt like a jab, especially because I believed in my reasons for supporting Trump. As election day approached, we both had our own ways of showing support. Sarah was out posting flyers, talking to friends, and organizing gatherings for Kamala supporters. I was watching Trump rallies online, discussing his policies with friends, and sharing my own thoughts privately. We still hadn't had a serious talk about our differences, but the tension was so thick it felt like we were just waiting for something to explode. The breaking point came on election day itself. We had both taken the day off work, but for completely different reasons. Sarah planned to volunteer and help people get to the polls, while I wanted to watch the election coverage in peace and check in on news updates. I could tell she was annoyed that I wasn't out doing something for my candidate, but I didn't think it would lead to a major blowout. That afternoon, Sarah came home looking frustrated. She started telling me about her day, complaining that too many people were blindly voting for Trump without understanding the issues. She was venting, so I let her talk. But then she looked at me and asked, "Do you even care about what Kamala is trying to do? Do you even understand what's at stake?" I told her that I understood her views but that I had my own reasons for supporting Trump. I mentioned his policies on business, foreign relations, and national security, things I felt aligned with my values and the future I wanted to see. But before I could even finish, she snapped, "You only care about yourself, don't you? All you care about is money and power. What about the people who are struggling?" That comment hurt. I told her it wasn't fair to assume that I didn't care about people just because I didn't support her candidate. She fired back, saying, "If you really cared, you'd want a better future for everyone, not just rich businessmen." At that point, I felt like she was attacking my character, not just my political beliefs. We both started raising our voices. It felt like all the tension we'd been holding back for weeks came pouring out. She accused me of being selfish and short-sighted, and I accused her of not respecting my right to have different views. I told her that I felt like she'd been judging me for weeks, and she admitted that, yes, she had been struggling to understand how I could support Trump. She said it felt like I was supporting the opposite of everything she believed in. I asked her if she thought this difference was really a deal-breaker for us. She hesitated, which was all the answer I needed. That hesitation spoke louder than words. Later that evening, we tried to cool down and talk things out, but it was clear that things had shifted. Sarah looked at me and said, "I love you, but I don't think I can be with someone who doesn't share my values. It's not just about this election. It's about what we believe in." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I tried to reason with her, saying that couples don't need to agree on everything, but she shook her head. She said, "I thought I could be okay with it, but I realize now that this isn't just a difference of opinion. It's about the kind of world we want, and I want to be with someone who's on the same page as me." We ended up breaking up that night. I stayed up watching the election coverage alone, feeling numb. We'd built a life together, shared so many memories, and just like that, it was over, because of politics. I never thought I'd lose someone I loved over an election, but it happened. Since that night, I've had a lot of time to reflect. Part of me wonders if we could have handled things differently, maybe found a way to compromise or just agree to disagree. But then I remember how different we've become in our beliefs and how neither of us seemed willing to let go of what we felt was right. A few weeks after the breakup, Sarah reached out to me. We met for coffee, and it was bittersweet. She told me that she missed me but still felt like she'd made the right decision. We talked about how hard it is when politics becomes so personal, so tied to who we are and what we stand for. She said she hoped I'd understand why she couldn't look past my support for Trump, and I told her I respected her decision, even if it hurt. We ended things on a good note, but I still think about her every day. It's strange how something like an election can come between two people who used to be so close. It makes me wonder how many other couples out there went through something similar, losing each other not over love, but over what we think is right. So here I am, single and still supporting my candidate. I don't know if I'll ever find someone who's completely on the same page as me, but I guess that's the risk we take when our values run deep.